This is CSS border. Border properties allow you to specify how the border of a box representing an element should look. I believe you already know what we mean by a border. Whenever you will have a table, there are sideway, like for example now you can see this particular what you are seeing presently right now, it has a border. The edges is what we refer to as borders. And whenever you are working with Microsoft Word, let's say you are working with Microsoft Word Office now, and in Microsoft Office, let's say you create a table always have a border. All these edges that you are looking at is what referred to as a what? As a border. And I believe I've already taught you how to create a table in HTML during the time we are doing HTML. But right now, normally I've told you whenever you are creating a table, you make use of the syntax table, then you specify an attribute, the border attribute. Then however you want the thickness to be, maybe you want it to be very thick, then you can place it to 1. If you want to increase the thickness, you can place it to 2. It can always increase like that. So it now depends on the number that you gave it, the value you gave the border will now determines how thick the edges of that table is going to, how it will appear, the thickness of the edges of the table. Like right now in Microsoft Word, if you create a table now, you can easily go to the insert, then under the table, the table section, you can slide to to, let's say for example now, let's say I create a table. Let me create a new table. Let's say I create a new table now, 3 by 5. Here now I can decide to change the thickness of my table. Right now I'm only having a single line, so I can decide to change the thickness to this font. Let's say I change it to, for the border, I can decide to change the thickness here. So the thickness of my table, can you see? So this is a cell now, and you will discover that the edges, when you look at the edges of this cell, you will discover that it's very, very thick. It's because I give it 3 points. I can decide to increase it. So since I've already taught you how in HTML how to create, a table, I've already taught you how to create a table in HTML. But right now, how do we modify or specify the border properties of tables or any other things that make use of a edges? So that's what we are trying to do here now. There are 3 properties of a border that you can change. The first property is the border color. You can specify the border color. The second property is you can specify the border style. The border style specify whether a border should be solid, dash line, double line, or one of the other possible values. And the last thing is you can specify the border width. The width of the border, how wider the width is going to be. You can also specify this. So these are the 3 border properties that you can specify. During the course of our HTML, we talk about the table, the TR, and we talk about the TD, we talk about the TH. So I will tell you that the tables hold a number of attributes. We have the table color, the border color, we have the background color of that table, we have the border styles, we have the border width. So all these attributes that you specify when we are talking about HTML, creating a table in HTML, we can also specify these attributes with CSS, and that's what we are trying to learn now. So we are going to start. We've already told you that there are 3 properties of a border, and we've listed the 3 properties. So right now we are going to start with the border color property. So the border color property allows you to change the color of a border surrounding an element. So let's run this code example, and see what it does. This is an example now. Let's run this example. Before we do that, let's go to our FTP. So let's log in, localhost. So the host is always localhost. The username, your username and password is in the email that we send you during the course of your registration. For the cPanel, you use the cPanel account detail. this is the username and this is my password. So username. So I've told you, because of mistake, try to be using your hand to type it. And note, in the password there is capital letter, small letter, and there is alphanumeric, so just note them. So if all is well, once I click on enter, it should take me to the, so I'll click on www directory. So whatever files that you place inside your www directory, your web visitor can access them. So let's create a new file. Let's name our new file. How can we name it? Let's name it border tutor.html. So it's going to open a text editor for us to edit our code. So we can now copy copy the code. We can copy it and paste it inside the text editor. And paste it inside this text editor. So for you to be able to understand, normally what type of CSS are we using? If you look at this code thoroughly, you will discover that we are using two types of CSS, as in one type of CSS, and that CSS is what we are using, the embedded CSS. This is an embedded CSS, and there are two style sheets here now. The first one is the paragraph dot. I've told you, whenever you make use of dot, the dot represents what? It represents class. This is a class, and that's why you see that when they want to call their paragraph, they call it using what? Using class, because it's dot. But assuming we make use of hash here, then this is an ID selector. So this place you represent it to what? ID. But in this example, we are making use of dots, so it's a class selector. So we have the p.example1 selector, and these are the attributes. These are the property. The first property we have is the border. The second property we have is the border slash bottom slash color, the border slash top slash color, and the border left color, the border right color, and we gave it this value. This value you are seeing here represents green. This one represents red. This one represents black, and this represents blue. So this is just a comment. So in order for you to understand the color that is here, that's why we place a comment there. But instead of saying using this color code, using this hexadecimal color code, you can decide to change this to just red. It will still run. So but if you know the color code, it's better for you to be using color code. So right now we have the p.example1. Normally the name of the selector is example1. This dot represent that this selector example1 is a class, and the p you are seeing here is an HTML tag. And I've told you, whenever you want to create a style, you start with what? The HTML tag, then dots. But it's possible you just write ordinary p. So if you use p now, that means anytime you use p, is going to give, anytime you use p, whatever is inside this p open tag and closing tag is going to give them this property. But this time around, we don't want to use ordinary p, we want to use p.example1. So I believe I've already taught you about class, the class selector, so in CSS. So with the knowledge of the class selector, you should be able to understand what we did here. But if you didn't understand, it's better for you to refer back to the class selector. So I believe you already understand what we mean by this p dot. So we have p.example1 as a selector, and we also have p.example2. So this p.example2 has how many properties? It only has 2 properties, while p.example1 has 5 properties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties. So let's see how it works now. So normally we have 2 tests. We have two sentences, 2 paragraphs. This is the first paragraph, and this is the second paragraph. This first paragraph, we give it an attribute class, and we say the class is what? Example1. That means we want to apply all these 5 properties to this text, this sentence. And the second paragraph that we have, we gave it what? A class of what? Example2. That means the example 2 property, these two property, we want to apply it to the what, to this sentence. So, and note, we are under what, we are under the border, we are under this border css border. That is how to create a border property in css. So now let's run our code. I've already explained to you that the property that belongs to example 1, we have, since we have used paragraph, the name of the tag is paragraph, and the class is what, example 1. That means for the first one, then the first one has how many property? 5 property. Then that means this test is going to have 5 property. And for the second one, which has paragraph class, if you didn't understand why we use class here, it's better for you to refer back to your, I think it's class lecture. You'll be able to understand how we arrive at this class. But what we just want to do is, we have 2 sentences right now. The first sentence, we want to give it the property of example 1 css, and the second sentence, we want to give it the property of what, example 2 sentence. That's what we do. So let's save this and run our code and see our outputs. So let's go to our, you may, if you didn't know your site, as in if you don't know your site URL, because we have to run the code, our code now, but if you didn't know your site URL, as in your website, all you need to do is log into your Ewebtutor account using the email that we email and the username and the password that we send you for the Ewebtutor account detail. So if you use it, my own username is market and my password is, here is 12356. You are not going to use the cPanel account detail this time around. The cPanel account detail is only used whenever you want to log into your FTP, or you want to log into your database. But whenever you want to log into your Ewebtutor account, you make use of the username and the password for you Ewebtutor. So my password is 123456. So if all is well, it should take me to my profile page. So if you can see that this is my domain URL, that is this is my website URL, and this is the cPanel URL. So I'm going to go to my domain URL. So you click on this. So this is my domain name. So all the files I have in my www directory, I can access them here. So but the one I want to access right now, to check our code, to see maybe our code run, is border.tutor.html. So I can just go there directly, border.tutor.html. Can you see? So look at what happened now. The first example, this is the first sentence, and we said this first sentence should have what, the style of example 1, the style of example 1. So let's see what happens. Normally we said is a paragraph, and we said I should have the what, the class of example 1. So that means this sentence is going to have what, this 5 property. Let's see how it works. Normally the first property is what, we said the border should be what, 1 pixel, 1 pixel solid. That means that the solid means it should be thick. 1 pixel what, solid. The solid mean what, it means thickness. And the solid is an example of, when we are talking, we said under the border there are 3 properties of border. We said the first property is the border color, the second property is the border style, and the border width. So the solid is part of the border style. Instead of solid, we can also use dash line. Instead of dash line, we can use double line. So we can use either of these 3, but right now we make use of solid. So that means the border style is what we first used in the first example. So this border, so here now is the border style. So this is the border thickness. We gave it 1. That's why you see the thickness as 1. So let me just change the thickness here. Let me change it to 5. So you can see this is what is there before. When it is 1, you can see what we have. So let's increase it to 5. So let's save this now. So let's go back to our URL. Let's open our URL in another file, so that you will see the one of 1, the thickness of 1, and the thickness of 5 separately. Sorry, this cPanel. Let's log into our website address, domain. What's the name of the file? border.tutor.html. So right now the thickness is 5 now. So sorry, there's an error. Let's change this to 5. So let's refresh this. Can you see the thickness? What happened before is that I have not saved it. It's still appearing 1. Why is it appearing 1? It's still appearing 1. 5. Let's save it. Let's edit it back. Okay, it's 5 now. So it's now 5 pixel. So you can see when it is 5 pixel, you can see the thickness compared to when it is what? When it is 1 pixel. So the more you increase the number of values, the more thick the border will be. So if we give it 10 now, we expect it to be more thicker than how it is right now. When we give it 1, you can see it's not that thick. But now that we gave it 5, see, you can see that the thickness increased. So however you want to know the thickness to be, how you want the thickness to be determines the number of values that you give it to. If I increase this to 50 now, you should believe that the thickness will be much more thicker than this. So that's just about the border. But note, why is it that it's only the first one that changed and the second one border thickness does not change? The reason is because the first sentence, we gave it a class of example 1, and when we edit the border thickness, we only edit the border thickness of the style example 1. We only edit the property of border, the border property of example 1. We did not edit the border property of example 2, because the second sentence is making use of what? The style of example 2, and we've not edit his own border thickness. That is why the example 2 still retain its border thickness, whereas example 1 changes its own border thickness. Why? Because you have edit the border thickness of example 1 to 5, so it has to overwrite the first one, the one that is there before. So right now the second one is what? The border bottom color. We gave it green. Border bottom color, the bottom, can you see this bottom now? This is the border bottom. Can you see of the example 1? The border bottom, give it green. That's why you can see that the border of this bottom is green. Then another thing that we have is the border top color. We give it red. The border top color, can you see the top color is what? Is red. The next one is the border left color. Left color, what do we give it? The border left color, we give it black. The border left color, this is left, can you see it's black. And the border right color, we give that one blue. That's why you have blue here. That's why you have blue here. So that's for the first example. The second example, this is the second text. We give it what? A style, a class of example 2. And what is example 2? Example 2 only have 2 properties this time around. Border thickness of 1, and that's why you see that the thickness is not that strong, because we gave it 1, and it's also solid. I've told you during the course of the border style, there are solid, there are dash line, there are double lines, so I gave it solid. Then I only specify the border color to what? To green. This time around I did not specify under the example 2. I have not specified the border top color, the border left color, the border bottom color, the border right color. I just say border color, and this time around is going to give both the left. Since I just specified the border color, you will see that in this example 1 I did not use border color. Why? The reason I did not use border color is because if I use border color, it's going to specify the left, the right, the bottom, and the top as the same color. But right now I want to differentiate the bottom, the color of the bottom, from that of the top, from that of the left, from that of the right. That is why I make use of the border bottom, the border top color, the border left color, the border right color. But right now in this second example, I don't want to specify for the left, for the right, for the top, for the bottom. I just want to give everything, both the left, the right, the bottom, everything the same color. That's why I just call it what? That's why I call it directly border color. I did not specify whether border bottom color, whether border top color, whether border left color or border right color. I just say border color. Then that means whether it's bottom, whether it's left, whether it's top, whether it's right, is going to give them the same color. And what color did I give them? I give them green. That's why you see all these things. That's why you see they have a border color of what? Of green, irrespective of their direction, whether it's their bottom, whether it's their top, whether it's their left or their right. They have the same color, green. So let me change the color. Instead of green, let me just use brown. So let me now give it border thickness of 10. So let me save this. Let's save this. and let's refresh. Can you see? Brown. Can you see that this thickness is more thicker than this, because this one is thickness of 5, while the second is the thickness of what? Of 10. So that's just, but right now we make use of what? The paragraph. The tag is paragraph. The dots represent the class, and the name of the class is whatever is after the dot. The name of the class is example. That's why I say class is equals to example. So for this now, it's going to give it a paragraph. Let's now change, instead of paragraph p dot example 1, let's change this p to b here. B represents both. Let's change this b also to b, the p. Let's use b here, b here, b here, and b here. Let's save this and refresh. B is a tag, it's also a tag, but it's both. Can you see? You still have it. So irrespective of whatever tags that you use, so far is the opening tag starts from the sentence, and the closing tags end from at the back of the sentence, is going to give them the property, the border property of whatever you define in your property. It's going to give them that border property of whatever you define. So right now you have the b dot example 1. So that means you have covered this sentence with opening tag of b and the closing tag of b. Then how would b be able to understand the tag to use, as in the kind of style to use? That's why we say b dot example 1. That's why we specify the class. So that means class example 1 will be, the property of class example 1 will be given to these texts, and that's why you have these 5 properties. So irrespective of whatever tags that you use, so far you specify the borders. So whenever you are talking about border in CSS, just note border make use of 3 property: the border color, which we use here, the border color which you use here. The border color is only used whenever you want to give both the left, the right, the left, the right, the bottom, and the top. Whenever you want to give them the same color, that's when you make use of the border color. But if you don't want to use border color, you can now specify the border color based on the direction: the border bottom color, the border top color, the border left color, and the border right color. So when you use all these border bottom, border top, border left, border right, you don't need to specify the border, ordinary border color. But whenever you want every colors, every border, as in irrespective of their site in which they are, if you want them to have the same color, you specify it with what? Border color. The reason they have the same color is because we specify the border color. But here we did not specify the border color, but we specify the border direction color. The border bottom, we specify it. We specify the border top, we specify the border left, and we specify the border right. So that's why we have what we have there. So, but last things I'm going to explain, since I've already talked about the border color. These are the border, all these represent the border color for this first example. Everything is still talking about the border color, but this time around we consider direction, and this in the example 2 represent the border color. So we've talked about that. The border style, we said border style can either be solid, dash line, or double line, but right now in our example we make use of the word the solid. We've talked about the border style and also the border width. So this is the only thing we've not talked about, but we are still talking about the border color. But we've make use inside this border color property, we've make use of the border style, but we've not make use of the border width, and we are still going there. So the second one is what? Is the border style property. We've already make use of it here, that we said solid in the example 2. So right now let's use different thing. We've used solid, so let's use dotted and dashed. For the first example, let's use dotted, and for the second example, let's use dashed. So let's save this and let's refresh our. Can you see this is dotted and this is dash 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 dash. So we make use of dotted and dash. So normally border is used to specify the border thickness, but whenever you've written the border thickness and you put a empty space and you type any other thing that is in front of it, if it's either of these non-solid, dotted, or to hidden, if I is either of any one of them, then it's going to see it as what? The border style. So right now we've used the dotted, we've used the dash. What can we use again? Let's use double and groove. Double and groove. Let's save this. See what we have. This is double. Can you see it's in double? And this represents groove. Can you see the style? This represents groove. Can you see the style? So that's just about the border style. So right now you can just, for everything that we've listed here, we've written a code for them. So you can run this code as an example. You can run this code as an example. You will discover that. So we'll make use of the inline style sheet now. Can you see? We make use of this inline style sheet. The style, the border width 4 pixels, the border style none. So this time around, what we are interested in is what? Is the border style. Normally in the previous example, we declare it as border, then the value 1 pixel, and we put an empty space. Then we said whether dash, whether solid, whether anything. But the normal syntax to declare the style, the property of style, is what? Is border style. What we are trying to say is, look at this previous example. Normally we said border is equal to 5 pixels. So I've told you anything, whenever you declare the property border and you put 5 pixels, or you put any other value, when you put an empty space, anything after that empty space, you can also declare your border style. Another way I can write this, if I don't want to write the border style, and I don't want to declare the border style and the border style and the border thickness, if I don't want to declare them in the same way, in the same place as I declare them using the border property, I can declare them differently. I can just say border slash style, border slash style is double. I'll clean this. So this is the normal way to declare the border style. But instead of saying the border style double, you can just place the double inside the value of ordinary of border. You still have the same thing, double, or any other style, whether it's double, whether it's dash, whether it's groove, you can place it here. But instead of doing this way, the best way to do it is to declare them separately by saying border 5 pixel and the border style, you place it double, or any other border style you want to use. So if I save it and I still run my code, it's still going to give me the same thing. Let me save this. So let me refresh my code. Can you see? It will still give me the same thing, even though I separate the border. It's still going to give me the same thing. So, but in this new example that we just copied, the border style, they gave it none here, they gave it solid, the dash, the double, the groove, they gave it different border styles that we have. So let's save this and run it and see what we have. Let's refresh the web page because we are still using the web. Can you see? This is none. The first one that we have is what? The first one, sorry, let me refresh this. The first one that we have for this example, we are still working on border tutor.html. The first one is what? Is border style none. That's why we don't have anything as the border style. Can you see? This is the first test. We don't have anything surrounding it because the border style is what is none. The second one is solid. Can you see? Solid thickness. The third one is dash. Can you see? Dash. The fourth one, I think this is double. It's double. The fifth one is groove. The sixth one is arch. Can you see? This is arch. The sixth one is insets. The seventh one is outset. The eighth one is hiding. You will see this hiding border. The hiding border is more or less equals to none. Nothing surrounding none. Nothing also surround this. Although border is there, but it's just that nothing is surrounding it. So this time around, the none, that means you did not specify the border style. But for the hiding, you specify the border style, you give it hiding. But this time around, it still work exactly like none. Can you see? Nothing surrounding the two of them. And the fourth, the last one is the last one is what? The border style is solid. For the border top style, we can also specify, instead of saying the border style, we can also specify the border top style, the border bottom style, the border left style, just like we did in the case of the border color. So you can specify, like the border top style, we give it strong. The border bottom style, we give it dash. This, the right, we give it double. And the left, what do we give the left? The border left style, we give it groove. So, and I believe instead of using the inline style sheet, I believe you should be able to convert all these inline style sheets to an embedded style sheet. That's just about the border style property. Then the next thing is the border width property. The border width property. So let's see how it works. The border width property. You can specify the border width property allows you to set the width of an element border. The value of this property could either be in length or in pixel, point or centimeter, or it should be set to thin, medium or thick. You can individually change the width of the bottom, the left, the top, the right border of an element using the following property. You can set the border bottom width, the border top width, the border left width, and the border right width. You can also specify all this. So we don't have an example code, but let's just, with this normal, let's use this to set the border. Normally we've set the border width to 4 pixels, and that's why you have the width. We set it to what? 4 pixels. Let's use the style. Let's use a style. Let's use dotted so that we see. So let's save this. So let's refresh the web page. Can you see dotted? And this is the size. So 4 pixel. Let's change this to 200 pixel. 200 pixel. That is the border width, because we are talking about the border width now. The border width, let's change it to 200 pixel. So let's refresh this. Can you see the width? Can you see it's very even more bigger than our screen now? Dotted. Can you see the width of the dotted? Can you see the width of the dotted? So we gave it 200 now. Let's change it to 20 and see how it looks. Can you see? 20. So the more width you give your border, the more the width of your border. So this, the more the width of your border. Can you see the border now? So if we give it 50 now, you will discover that the width will be too what? It will increase. Normally we give it 20 now, but by the time we give it the other time that we give it 200, you will discover that that width is too what? It's too big. But right now, since 20 is lesser than 200, we have small width. So if we increase it from 20 to 40 again, it will be big. So the more you increase the width, the more it will the changes in the size of the border width. So right now, another thing that we need to is the CSS margins. The margin property defines the space around an HTML element. It is property to use the negative value to overlap content. There are following 4 properties to set an element's margin, like the border color. We also have 4 properties here. We have the margin bottom, the margin top, the margin left, the margin right. Now we will see how to use this property with examples. So let's look at this example. So we are making use of what? The embedded style sheet in this example. And also we still use inline style sheet. We combine it with what? Embedded style sheets. So let's run this example. So here now, top here we have the embedded style here. Have the embedded style here. But in this example, the embedded style, we said for paragraph, we said there is margin of what? Of 15 pixel. We give another paragraph again, we said margin of 10 pixel, 2%. Right now, this code is wrong. It's just used in explaining. It's just used in explaining. Is not the, as in what you have up here now is not with this code. What you have up here is not with this code that we want to run. So this is just an explanation that when you declare for the paragraph now, we say this margin should be set to what? 15 pixel. For this paragraph now, the margin, the top and the bottom margin will be 10 pixel, while the left and right margin should be 2% of the total. 2% of the total. Then for this now, we are trying to specify that the top margin will be 10 pixel, the left and the right margin will be 2% of the total width of the document. Then the bottom margin will be minus 10 pixel. That's what this refers to. Then for the last one, we are trying to say the top margin will be 10 pixel, the right margin will be 2% of the total width of the head document, the bottom margin will be minus 10 pixel, while the left margin will be set by the browser. That's why we give it auto, to be set by the browser. So this is just an explanation. This is just the embedded style of an explanation of different styles that we gave. So right now, with all this explanation, when we talk about this, when we use this this inline style sheet, I believe you should be able to interpret it with this knowledge. You should be able to interpret all we are trying to do in this example. So this is not with our code, so let's just delete it, because our code already comes with an inline style sheet. Assuming this inline style sheet is not there, and that means we can make use of that external one. So right now we have style, we have the margin, we set our margin to what? 15 pixel. Let's run this code and see our output. Can I see the margin that you have here now? Can I see all these 4 margins will be what? 15 pixel, because you did not specify the margin direction, whether the top, the left, the right. In the first example, everything we have what? We have margin of what? Of 15 pixel. All the 4 margin, the left we have 15 pixel, the right we have 15 pixel, the top we have 15 pixel, and the down we have 15 pixel. And don't forget, we've already taught you that margin is what? Divide the space around an HTML element. So The space that you have from here to here is what we refer to as margin. So the space from here to here, we said it should be what? It should be, we gave it what? 15 pixel. The space from here to here, we said 15 pixel. The space from here to here, because we said that margin is what? The space around an HTML element, and the space from here to here is what's called 15 pixel. So everything is going to be equal, both the left, the right, the top, and the bottom. Because when you are setting your margin, you just say margin 15 pixel. You don't specify the direction. That's why everything will have the same distance. Then for the second example, we make use of what? Margin 10% and 2%. Then that means what we are trying to say right now is that the top and the bottom will be 10 pixel. Is that true? The top from here to here is top. Sorry, from here to here is top, and from here to here is bottom. The top and the bottom, they will have what? 10 pixel, while the left and the right will be 2% of the total width. So the left and the right will now be 2% of the total width. That's what this is trying to say. And for the top, the third one, we make use of what? The third one, we make use of margin 10% to 10 pixel, 2% minus 10 pixel. So what we are trying to say here is that the top margin will be 10 pixel. The top margin to be 10 pixel. Left and right margin will be 2% of the total width of the document, while the bottom margin will be what? Minus 10 pixel. Then for the last example, the top margin will be 10 pixel. The right margin will be 2% of the total width of the document. The total width of the document. That is the total width of the document. While the bottom margin will be minus 10%. And the left margin will be what? Whenever you see auto, it means it will be set by the browser. That's the meaning of auto. So this is just talking about what? About matching. So I believe I've already explained to you the margin left, the margin right, the margin top, and the margin bottom. But for the course of this tutorial, please, you can just go through all these exercises that is inside this tutorial, practice them, and go through the text, the document. Read the documents, read and understand, so that at the end of the day you'll be able to grab everything we are trying to pass across in this PDF. So the next thing we are going to talk about right now is the CSS lists. Lists are very helpful in conveying a set of either numbered or bullet points. This tutorial teaches you how to control list type, position, styles, etc. using CSS. There are following 5 CSS properties which can be used to control lists. The list style type allows you to control the shape or appearance of the marker. The list type position specify whether a long point that wraps to a second line should second line should align with the first line or start underneath the start of the marker. The list style image specify an image for the marker rather than a bullet point or number. Then the list style serves as shorthand for the preceding property. The marker offset specify the distance between a marker and the text in the list. So let's use all these 5 properties and see what we have. So with these examples, so first thing we are going to start with is for the list style type property. The list style type property. So let's copy this code. So look at it now. We have the another list UL and we have the li. This is an HTML tag. For each of the UL, they have a inline style. The inline style, and the inline style is what? List style type. We gave it a list type because we are talking about the list style type. We are talking about the list style type property now. So that's why we make use of the list type property. So each of the UL have is a inline style, the list type as their property, and the value we gave this property is circle. For the second one we gave it square, for the third one we gave it decimal, for the first one we gave it lower alpha, and for the third one, the last one, we gave it the lower Roman. So let's save this and preview our and see our output. So let's refresh this. So we have our, can you see? So this is what we refer to as the lists, the li. So can you see each of these? So let's, can you see each of these? For the first one we gave it what, the list, we gave it the list type of circle. That's why you see that the list type is circle. The second one we gave it the list type of what was it? The property is list type, and what is the value of square? Can you see? That's square. The third one we gave it of decimal. That's why you have 1, 2, 3. The fourth one we gave it lower alphabet. We can have higher alphabet. This is lower alphabet. That's why you have A, B, C, small letter. The fourth one we gave it lower Roman. That's why we have 1, 1, 1, I. So even if I add another list here now, I'm not the one that will say it's number 4. This list here, I'm not the one that will say it's number 4. Automatically the system will know that is what is number 4. So if I add another element here, maybe I edit this, I gave it physics chemistry. Normally the last one that it arrived here, the last one is what is 3. But by the time I refresh this web page now, I will discover that an element will have joined 4. So am I the one that named it 4? I'm not the one. But since I've used list and I've already asked the system to use a list type of lower Roman. So lower Roman, then anytime I had an element to start with 1, as I had another list again to start with 2, as I had another list again 3, another list 4, like that up to unlimited. So that's just about the list type. Then second property that we have under the style, the lists, is a list type position. So we are going to do that with this code. Sorry, let's copy this. Let's copy this. Let's paste it. Look at this now. We still make use of the list type here. We use the circle, the square, the decimal, and the lower alpha. But another thing that we are trying to talk about right now is the list type position. We use the list type position outside here. We use list type position inside. We use the list type position outside, and we use the list type position inside. So let's see how this list type position, how it works. Can you see the list type position here? We said is what is outside. That's why you have it outside. You can see it goes back. And when we name the list type position inside, can you see this one, it comes inside. And here we have the list type position outside again, and we have here the list type position what inside. So with list type position, you can specify the one that goes outside, and the one that comes inside. So whenever you have something, let's say you have a list and you want another list or another list to comes under the first list you have, but this time around you don't want them to be on the same line. You want this one to start maybe in another tab. Then you can use this list type position outside and use the list type position inside. So the one for inside will come in and the one for outside will go out. So that's just about the list type position, and that's what we have. You have this output, but this is just a preview of what you have, but the real output you are going to have is this. So the next property is the list style image. This time if you want to use an image as a bullet, as a bullet, instead of saying square, circle, square, lower alpha, or the numeral, instead of using all these numeral or all these things, instead of using the circle, the square, you can make use of the image. But note one thing: the image you want to make use of must already be present in your in your www directory in your server. The image you want to use must be present in your what? Your www directory. So if we are to use this, all we need to do is, if you are to try this example, all we need to do is, let's place the code first. Right now we use the list style image. So whatever image you want to use must be inside this box. The name of the image must be inside this box. But for the course of this tutorial, the first thing is any image that you must use must already be present inside your www directory or your server. So right now let me go to my www directory, which is something as public_html. So let me see if there's any image I can use here. Image can start with .gif. I've seen a image. This one is html.gif. Image can be .jpg, but the image I have here right now is what? html.gif. Let me see, maybe I can preview it. Let me preview it. Can you see? This is the image. This is the image I have, which is the same thing as what? The html.gif. This is the image. So let's see. Let's try to use this image as our. So what's the name of the image? And I've told you the image must already be present in your www directory. You can see this is my www directory, and the image html.gif is present here. So all I just need to do is, during my list, when I want to call on the list style image, I'll call on the URL will now be what? The name of the image I want to use, which is html.gif. The second one, I want to use the same image, html.gif. But note, there will be a problem, and the problem is because the image I want to use now, I just want to use it for an example. The image you will use for this kind of list, you will discover that when you are using the list, when you are using the circle, the square, you will discover that they are very, very small. So that means the image you will use whenever you want to use, you must have already converted to a very small image with any converting tools, any resizing image tools. So like the paint comes with your Microsoft tool, it comes with your Windows. Maybe you are using Windows 7, or if you are even using mobile devices, you have image resizing software on your mobile devices, like tablets, like maybe a Java phones and the likes. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is the list is always very small. So if you are going to use your image, a image as these bullets, make sure that the image is already resized to a very small width and small height. But the image html.gif that I previewed for you the other time, you discover that it's a very big image, so we may not really see it's a vet. But because of this is just a tutorial, but when you want to practice, please make use of the image that is very, very small, and input the name of the image that you use. Your own may not be html.gif. Whatever the name must be is in your own www directory. Just make sure you put the name of the image dot the extension of the image, whether it's .gif, whether it's just jpg, or whether it's just what other image format do we have. We have .gif, jpg, jpeg, that's jpeg. There are other ones. So right now I want to use html.gif. So let's save this and preview it in our web page and see how it looks. So let's preview this. Can you see? The reason we are unable to see very clearly is because the image we are trying to use is very, very big. Can you see? Let's look at our www directory. Let's go to our, let's open back our, what's the name of our file now? bordertutor.html. bordertutor.html. Let's re-edit it. Bordertutor. This is our bordertutor.html. You will discover that the image is what we have on this URL. How many lists do we have? We have 3 lists. The first list we've used an image as its bullets. The second list is there, and the third list is there. We have 3 lists here. In the second listed list, in the second OL, we have how many lists also? We have 3 lists, and the first list we use a image as its bullets. look at what we have. In the first list, what do we have? We have 3: math, social science, and the physics. We have 3 lists. But this first list, we use a image. That's why you see that this first list does not have this circle that all this one has. It does not have this circle that all this one has. Because instead of its own circle, we make use of what? We did not use ordinary li. We use li that has a style. And the style has a property of what? List style image. And the name of the image is what? html.gif. That's why we have this. That's why I told you can see that the image does not really come out. That's why I told you that whenever you want to use a list style image, you should make sure that the image is already resized to a very small size so that you'll be able to see the effect very well. But right now we can't really see, but we know that the image is there, but we can't really see, it can't really give us a very sharp, clear image as all these other lists. And for the second one, can you see? For the first list, we have a image as is list style image, and the second one we have the 2, 3, any other one that we have before. But that other 4 one, we can change his own list to also use a what? To also use a style of list style image property. What I'm trying to say is this: if we have another list here now, if we have another list here, for this fourth list, normally we know that it will be number 4 automatically. For this fourth list, we can use a style for it also. That means the fourth list also we have a image as is what? List style image. Let's refresh this. So let's count. The first one, that's an image. The second one has 2, 3, and the fourth one, that is the fourth one, physics, has a image as is bullet. So the last one is the list type property, and the list type property allows you to specify all the list property into a single expression. This property can appear in any order. So that's the list type property. So you can specify everything we've been said. So you can specify them. You can specify all the list property into a single expression. So with the list type property, so you can try this code yourself and see the results. I believe you should be able to understand how we arrive at the results with this code. So, and also we have the marker offset property. The marker offset property allows you to specify the distance between the marker and the text relating to that marker. Its value should be a length as shown in the following example. So, but just note, this property is not supported by Internet Explorer 6 or Netscape 7. So you can also set a mark offset. So mark offset is just trying to tell you about the distance between the bullets. That's it, the distance between the marker. All these 1, 2, 3, everything that you have here is a marker. Here now, all these that you have, 2, 3, all these that you have is a marker. So all these things that mark all these things that is here is referred to as marker. So the distance between all these marker, whether you use square or whether you use circle or whether you use the Roman numeral I like all the previous example that we've done. So whether you use all those ones, they refer to as the marker. They are what marks the text in front of them. So the distance between the marker and the text is what we will set with offsets, is what we set with the marker offset. So what I'm just trying to say is that, like these two now, 2 full stop, the distance between these 2 and social science. So how you want, whether you want the distance to be much or you want it to be small, then you set it to what? The marker offsets. The distance between these 3 and physics, you can also set it with what? With the marker offset. So you will make use of the marker offset to set the distance between a marker 3 and physics. So the physics that is here, the social science, the marks, they are referred to as the tests. So the distance between the marker and it is test 2, the test of 2, the test of marker 2 is social science, the test of marker 3 is physics, the test of marker that on this image that we use is math. So the distance between any of this marker and its corresponding test is what referred to, is what we set. The distance between them is what we set with the marker offset. So with this code, you should be able to see you can increase this 2 em, you can increase these 2 centimeter, you can decrease them, and you will see their various outputs. Then you'll be able to understand what we are trying to say, what we are trying to do with this code. So thank you so much. But for you to understand everything we've been talking so far better, it's better for you to go through all the content. It's better for you to practice all the content, and you read all the content so that you'll be able to understand what we are trying to pass across. Thank you.